Well, this is what God's grace does in us. Look at what happens starting in chapter 3. God desires to change us. We allow him to start incrementally overwhelming the way we were born, the way we were wired. He gives us a brand new operating system. That's what he desires to do. He desires to change us. And when he changes us, as he desires to do, this is what it says in Colossians. If then you were raised with Christ, that's justified, chapter 3, verse 1, seek those things which are above. He gives us the desire to seek him. Verse 2, set your minds on things above. He kind of gives us a homing beacon, and we want to focus in on him. We want to focus above. We were reading all those verses from Hebrews 11 this morning. It said they were pilgrims and strangers and sought a city and knew that this world is not their home. That's what this is talking about. We set our affections from being on earth, on our job, on our health, on our acquisition of stuff and pleasure and everything else, to all of a sudden changing the direction of our satellite dish. We set it on things above. And we say, this is not my home. I'm a pilgrim and stranger. I'm just camping here. I'm going to point my heart toward where I'm going. That's what sanctification does. Verse 5, therefore put to death your members which are on the earth, fornication or sexual immorality, uncleanness, which is another word for impurity, passion, which is another word for lust, evil desire, covetousness, another word for greed, which is idolatry. Right there, Paul says, the way you were born is desiring all the wrong things. You're supposed to desire me, Christ. And because of these things, verse 6 of chapter 3, the wrath of God is coming on the sons of disobedience. And that's how you once walked when you lived in them. Verse 8, but now you yourselves are to put off. Do you know what Paul says? We're supposed to strip off the toxic ways of the flesh. I have these toxic garments that are my flesh. And I got saved on the inside, but I still got this awful stuff on the outside. And boy, we're aware of it when we bump into believers with their toxic, poisonous old ways. Their poisonous words and their poisonous attitudes and their poisonous actions that are very, very deleterious to the unity of the body. We're supposed to strip off. Verse 9, don't lie to one another, since you've put off the old man. Paul says there are certain things of which the Colossians must strip themselves. The word he uses is for putting off clothes. Here's a picture from the life of the early Christian. When Christians were baptized in the first century, they put off their old clothes, went down into the water, and emerged and put on a new pure white robe. It flows from the old Jewish mikvahs, where they would take off the old, take their bath, and come with their new clothes. And that's what baptism said, that it's not what you're trying to do, it's that you are cleansed by Christ and walk in newness of life. And he says that needs to go on through life, the stripping off of the old, divesting ourselves of one kind of life and putting on another. And it's a constant process. We're like onions. We peel off the big, public sins, and boy, there's even more horrible ones that are deeper. And fears and pride and insecurities and anxiety, the deeper we go, there's so much, and we just have to keep stripping off by the power of his grace. But what's the bottom line? Salvation can completely change our personality. That's what's amazing. Notice what it says when it talks about who we are in verse 11. Because we've put off and put on, there is neither Jew nor Greek, circumcised nor uncircumcised. I'm in Colossians 3:11. Barbarian or Scythian. When we put off the old self and put on the new self, we are reminded that barbarians in verse 11 were those who were not Greeks, with those we would call heathen today. The Scythians were the worst kinds of barbarians. Scythia, north of the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, was an area around the Caucasus Mountains. Caucasus, Caucasian. Caucasians are descendants of people that lived in the Caucasus. These were white-skinned people. The people of the Middle East, the people of the Mediterranean world, are dark. The Caucasus people were white-skinned people. Caucasians. Oh, those are our relatives. These people who lived there were probably the most barbaric people the world has ever known. You talk about pagan, heathen, brutal, and mean. They would take their enemies, scalp them alive, then they would cut their head off and use their skull as a cup and drink the blood of their victim out of their own victim's skull. Kind of sounds like ISIS today. Those were the Caucasians. I can't think of anything more heathen than that. Did you know that the ancestors of many of us who have white skin came from that territory? We're called Caucasians after the area where these barbarians lived. But salvation, Paul said, changes you, whether you're Greek or Jew or pagan or Scythian or a barbarian. Barbar was a Greek word for someone that wasn't a good Greek. It doesn't matter where you come from. Salvation completely changes our personality.